When I returned in 1966, I'd been up there in Alaska for a year, working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, no break in between. Pretty boring life, and do something exciting. So we went to Montreal, Sandy and I, and first time we'd ever been there, and first time we'd ever really stayed in what they call a motel, no, not a hotel, a Holiday Inn. The Holiday Inn was brand new, never heard of it before. And first one we stayed in was Montreal. Pretty cool. We had a great time and great food, a fantastic place. Later on in my career, I was lucky to go to Montreal on business quite a few times and really enjoy it again. It's a great international city. This is Mount Royal, where Montreal got its name, Mount Royal, Montreal. A beautiful place, and of course, the first time again for us. We lived there from 1964 until 1968. Of course, all the kids were little then. I can remember we had the Thanksgiving and Christmas and so on. Well, probably at Christmas Town, my mom's on 511 Walnut Ave, but here was new friends that he made, older kids. And this is where all the kids grew up, really. Dar and Billy and Paula were out here for Halloween and all dressed up. This was a small man-made lake up in Niagara Falls. Uh, we went there with Norm and Irene Olson. They were good friends of ours, and we went up. We've been several trips to Niagara Falls with them, even before Scotty was born, and before I got activated to go over to France in the Berlin crisis. Great friends. We're friends for a long time, and I think finally they ended up in divorce, and then we saw him once and her once, I think, and that was it. But she always kept in contact with Sandy. They were the best of friends. This was a lake that had a really huge chute, biggest chute I ever saw. It's hard to see it from here. It's across the lake there. And on the other side, they had fish. You could feed fish. There was, I don't know, it was a hatchery or what it was, but this is a great place for families to go vacation and have a nice little time. A lot of these clips, there's things I can do with them, but it takes forever, like to change the hue and the color. Like right here, we went up to a friend of our, Battle Creek, Michigan, to see my friend Ken Peterson, his wife and kids, who Ken we had met in I had met in France. We were together with the 102nd Tactical Fighter Squadron, and he got kind of drafted into it from Michigan. Anyway, we were good friends. He's a very religious guy too. I think he was a lay preacher later on. I was going to mention that in a lot of these films you can adjust the hue or the colors because they don't look right, and I can do it, but it takes forever. All these take a long time to edit the way I do it anyway. I don't know any other way. But these were great times. This is when Scotty, right there, he bit his lip or something on that merry-go-round. He must have been scared, we didn't know it. And when we came down, his lip was all bloody. Poor little guy. That was Joanne, his wife's name was Joanne, and Ken, Sandy, and Scotty. Sandy just loved go-karts. I don't know, she must have had that racing bug fever in her or something. She just loved those things. They were a lot of fun. Although I didn't record it, they on Silver Lake they also, it's just inside the Lake Michigan, small lake, and they had huge sand dunes. I never even knew they had sand dunes like that in that area. They were gigantic. I thought I was on the ocean somewhere. and there were like cliffs of sand dunes. In fact, we took a ride on it, and it looked like today I guess you call it a Humvee, a great big tank-like truck that drove around in the sand dunes, perched up on top of one, and then like they scared the heck out of you. They collapsed, went straight down. It scared everybody to death. We thought we were crashing or a death, and it was something was a part of the ride. I've never seen anything like it before. I've never seen anything like it since. They also had a small lake that actually you go out and, like, instead of renting a go-kart, you rented a tiny little motorboat. And you drove all around this lake, this tiny little boat, steering it, and it had a little engine in the back, and it was great fun. You could go like heck with the son of a guns. I've never seen that before or since. And again, here's you got sand, you think you're in the ocean or Lake Ontario or something. It's I've never seen sand like it anywhere in actual dunes other than the Sahara Desert. This was Green Lakes. Been there. My father used to talk about how he swam in that lake and how there was no bottom to it. It's a natural spring. Now, this was a period of time when another friend of mine from Shemya, Jerry Harling and his wife, Mary Ann, visited us with their son, Brett. And there's Brett on the right there. And they came to visit us and stayed overnight in Syracuse with us and went out to Green Lakes. So a lot of history at Green Lakes. They visited us again years later for a brief period of time, and then she came down with at a very early age with breast cancer, and it took her from us. Sad story. That was Eddie Sokovis, a neighbor kid. Now, Little York Preble, this was a great spot. We used to have a lot of fun here with family picnics. There's Darlene taking her first steps with Aunt Joanne, and there's Uncle Joe and Scotty, of course, and old little Pudgy Dar waddling around there like crazy. She's having a great old time. We didn't have a lot of picnics there, but we had a family reunion, a raw family reunion. I don't know if it's on this tape or another one. It's a very brief video of it, but it was a raw family reunion, and there was a ton of people there, and we were all somehow related, But Little York, it's still there down near Preble, and they tell me, I went by there a couple years ago on a ride just to see, and it looked like everything was still intact, including a tiny little merry-go-round they had there. All the little kids when they were young, and old Robbie and Michael and Scott. No, that was Fergie, my mother's boyfriend at the time, Fergie. I never cared that much for Fergie, and I don't think they lasted as a couple for too long. It was my brother Wayne and Wayne Joyce. Yeah, boy, this is going back. And a little playpen. Guess who's in the playpen? Oh my goodness! I think Darlene. And she was walking around waddling there. It was cute watching her walk. Uh, I can't help but laugh at these to see her try to walk. And people trying to help her to walk. There's my '65 Ford. I bought for Sandy just before. Oh, we bought that just before we went up to see Ken Peterson up in Michigan, and then yep, I think some of these films are out of order. Some of them aren't in the right order, but this was all after 1961, of course, and I think and after 1965 when I came back from Shemya. Kay Young was there with her mother Marcy, that's her in the middle in the back, and her brother Tom, and of course that's Lloyd Young's mother. And Lloyd wasn't there, and neither was that's her brother. Neither was Edgar. This is kind of funny, this one here. I remember I took a clip out of this and put it on Facebook. It was pretty funny. The people trying to help Dar how to walk, and Scott trying to help her out, and then Eddie Segovia was there in the sandbox. He's trying to help her out. There's Scotty trying to give her a hand. Boom, she's going. Yep, he gave her a hand. Yep, the helping hand. He was trying. Dar says he did that on purpose. Really having some problems there on negotiating. Oh my goodness, she's ruined the dress. Oh, maybe the dress was ruined by people helping her to walk. Looks like she's in toddler's jail there. Let me out. Nobody likes me. Hello out there. Poor little soul. She looks lost. She got her dress all ripped apart on the top. I don't know how that happened. Oh, good Lord. These are irreplaceable. Here's Dar all dressed up like a bunny rabbit, I guess. We had some bunny rabbits that night. Who else we got here? That was Eddie Segovia. I know that. That's who that was behind that mask. And there's Scott, Peter Rabbit. He's looking and see what he got. Oh, look at all the goodies I got in this bag. Oh man, I can't wait to chomp down on this. Let me stick my whole head in there. Billy with the sunglasses and a mustache, and having a good old time. (1966), of course, we were still on Robier or Cutler Street, 218 Cutler Street. Many fond memories. Um, I've had a lapse. Right now, I'm not. My voice is a little bad because I'm suffering from a bit of a cold. That was Eddie Sokovis' sister. They lived with her father. They didn't have any mother. And later on in the years, they moved to Texas, Paladine, Texas, something like that. I think we saw him one time after that, and that was it. Kind of felt sorry for him because they didn't have a mother. Oh, geez, I remember that car. This was kind of a long trip. 6 weeks. I was down in this Cape San Blas, the middle of nowhere. I didn't know there was wilderness in Florida. A boy around Port St. Joe where they made paper and you could smell that wet paper in a paper plant for miles, and beautiful, gorgeous white beaches. But there was nothing to do there. Absolutely, you had to drive all the way up to the next town to go to a decent restaurant. There's a hotel we stayed at on the right. I think that was a motel. Yeah, right there. That was funny. There was nothing to do there except go around and collect seashells, which I did. I collected a whole mess of seashells, and like I still got them. I made some lamps out of them. I still got some left in a bag down in the basement somewhere. Beautiful white beaches. But I was working installing a Russian radar and selling it off to a company called Vitro in the United States government, the Air Force. And boy, it was a piece of old junk that we turned into a simulated Russian mobile radar. We repaired it all in a depot in Syracuse, and I was the equipment specialist on the job, and they wanted me to go down and help to install it. So that's what I did, and that's how we ended up here. This was the biggest next city. I can't even remember. It's a real popular city now, real big tourist city. We visited this again when we went on our cross country trip with the motorhome in 1977, and I can't think of the name of it right now. It's where I was first introduced to oysters cocktail, because this where all the oyster boats came in down there. So there was and really raw living, except for that one little town up there. There was nothing, no tourists or anything. This is up in the Panhandle. Oh, I remember. It was Panama City, Florida, and that's really popular these days. That's a huge place, I guess, and it's still a great big tourist spot. In fact, they do the spring break shoots down there and all that stuff. And I've known people to say they're going to move near there to Fort Walton Beach, which is another great big. I think there's a lot of resort stuff there. But this is all miles and miles of pure white sand, and right on the Gulf. It's, of course, this was a long time ago. This is 1967 in January. We were there. That's when the shuttle mission capsule blew up, and the three astronauts, I think, before they got off the ground, and they got killed in it. And it was the first, I think, space disaster that NASA suffered. Gus Grissom was one of them, I remember. Michelle Walker, she was Scott's age. She's a little cutie pie from next door. The whole Walker family. There's Dar. She get around pretty good now. I don't know what birthday was Scott's. Fourth? Maybe fourth? Third? No, it must be fourth birthday. 1967. Yeah, I think it was his fourth birthday. So that would have been July 15th. Whatever happened to those days of innocence? There's Dar. Looking at this, it seems like yesterday. Eddie Segovas and his sister lived with their father on Bennett Street. They didn't have a mother. Father did the best he could for them. They eventually moved to Texas. This was a party we had from people at work, Field Programs Depot, Building 7, Tarbell Road, Courtesy for GE. Sandy, all dressed up like a witch, and Bob Craigbaum, his wife Beverly. Um, we did a few things. We got together quite a few parties with people we work with. I remember John Lewis and his wife, and I don't recall the other people's names, but we had a few parties at different people's houses. Like we had one at we had a couple at our house. I think it was similar to that, like a Halloween party. Um, Great bunch of people. Bob and I, of course, spent together in a year together in Shemya, and that's where I met Craig Baum, and he's always a cut-up character. And we played a lot of ball together, played a lot of basketball together afterwards, and played a lot of baseball or softball. But we were never in the same teams. He was an outstanding athlete, one of the most natural, or one of the hard, not the most natural athlete I ever played with, but the hardest working and most competitive one. And that made him the perfect teammate. He was, and plus he was a leader on the floor and the court and the field. Just excellent. Oh, that was a game we used to play. To see if you could tell your own whose leg belonged to what husband. That's as risque as the games got back then. I can't imagine the games they play today. Good grief. Here's Sandy and me are trying to make believe we're kind of kiss each other, but our noses get in the way. Yeah, that Siddiqui hat I had that I brought back from Libya that most of the workers wore there. Bob Craigbaum, he was always clowning. He was always clowning around. He should have been in a circus somewhere. He would have been really good at it. I don't know where he ended up in life, job wise. Nice guy. Here we go. First fits of little Stevie. This is actually up in Niagara Falls with Norm and Irene and their friends and their dad. Me and Scott and Sandy. I don't know if it was Easter or not. It seems to me like it was Easter. I don't know who the little girl in the crib was. Forget that. And he never used to really crawl. He used to hitch. Uh, Instead of crawling along like a baby, it's like he couldn't get there fast enough, so he had to hitch along, kind of having fun with the dog there. There he goes, hitch, 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 hitch. There he goes. Just couldn't wait. That was Irene. She worked at Kimberly and Clark along with Norm, and just two lovely people. They never had any children, but they always welcomed us just like family. And she was a great cook. That was Jim Steer, who was a good friend of theirs, and he was a bartender part-time somewhere. And he was on the inside track in that Appalachia raid. There's Norm's father, Olson, and Jim Steer was a bartender. He knew a lot about what would happen up in Appalachia when the state troopers and all the district attorneys and so on descended upon Appalachia. They caught the mafia people there and they ran for their lives. And he had the inside track on that. I guess it was Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day dinner. Friends of Irene. I guess I don't know whose baby it was or who that kid was. I don't recall, but there's Scott, a little bit tired. I don't see Steven. He must be in his crib sound asleep, getting some rest so he can do some more hitching tomorrow. I don't know what we were doing here, teaching Scott like a boxing match or something like that. He went, oh, the little kid, he was playing with the kid. Oh, they were having fun. It was all fun. I don't think he thought that was very funny, though. Forget this, he says. I'm going to go with something else here. Irene got a big kick out of it. With Norm. Oh, here we go. He couldn't miss out on the action. Gotta get him. Gotta get him out of there. Because he must have woke up. Now we're back on Cutler Street, East Syracuse, New York, 218 Cutler Street, and little baby Stevie. We hadn't moved into our house yet, so it had to be like, well, this was still 67. I'm sure he wasn't even a year old there. So Thanksgiving 67, little loving brother. Ha ha ha. Look at, trying to be a big brother already. We probably told him to do that. Having fun with him. Right now it's it's January 1st, 2012, 12:28 in the morning, and I'm looking at little baby Steve. And why am I doing this? Well, didn't celebrate the actual countdown down to Denise and Dave. Took Karen home and Charlie home, and then Karen back to there. And I came home. I was tired, and I watched the ball fall at Times Square and thought, good grief, is that what it's come to? Is all these years later, Times Square, Michael Bloomberg and Lady Gaga? Please, that's it. Well, I decided this is going to be my year to finish unfinished business. So here we go with a little unfinished business. Going to finish these videos because they're important. I get them on record while I still can. And there's 5 discs, 5 hours of it. This is the second hour, and they take quite a long time, at least the way I'm doing them, and want to do them right and for posterity. And we'll see where it goes from here. But Happy New Year, everybody, 2012. these were picnics that we had together. Jim Robertson there on the right, little Kenny Mulcahy, Billy's there, Mom on the left, Sandy in the middle with Steve. Let's see who comes next into the frame. Bouncy little Stevie. That was Verona Park. John Donna's sitting behind her. There's Joanne to the right of her. I don't know. Oh, there's Billy going up, put his hands around. That's Billy. And up in the top is Grace, Jim's sister. Grace and Ed, Chartier, and there's Jim in the top. And let's see, where do we move? There's Grace. Haven't seen him in years. There's Yvonne and Donna. There's Ed Chartier. Christmas 67. Wow. Moving along. I was thinking that was Steve's police car, but it was Scott's. That's right, it was Scott's first. Steve inherited it. And there's, oh, do you know that's still out in the shed? We still have that toy in the shed. I never get it out. We have to get some little kids over here to play with it. I have to do that this next summer 2012. Look at Dar jumping up and down. All purple, all the reds look purple here. I haven't got the time or the inclination to go ahead and change them all to red. I could do that, but it takes forever to do it. Someday somebody else can do it. There we go. It was his favorite thing. Of course, these lights were really extremely bright. I don't know if it might have damaged their eyes forever. These shining these lights on them when they were little kids, a baby. Him looking right into the light. Good grief. No wonder he's got migraines. I think he's over with them now, but he had a lot of migraines. And then Steve used to love to grab a hold of the edge of the crib, and he used to laugh because we used to laugh at him, so he did it even more. He'd go, oh, oh! He let out this howl like a dog. It was so funny. And it's here somewhere. His first waddles. Wow. Here comes Mr. Waddles. Oh, there goes Mr. Waddles. That didn't bother him any. Come from hitching, he's going to go back to hitching. Oh, he's actually crawling now, making time. There he goes. Oh, oh, oh. He used to laugh. He'd do it even more. Come on, give us another one. Oh, oh. This was a surprise visit. Billy and Dotty came floating in his big old Cadillac and told us that they just got married, just like that. And they came over to see us. Brought the bride, the best man and the best lady. What do you call them? Over here and over at our house. It was so hot that day. I remember so hot, and we went out in the backyard even before we had a fence. And Sandy went in and cooked a big brunch. I'll never forget it. It was so hot. And out of the blue, they just popped right in on us. Not a phone call, nothing, and there they are. The bridal entourage and my lovely wife. And there's, oh, we had brandy then. No, that wasn't brandy. Yeah, Scott, and that's Kathy Corden over there, I think. They had been out there playing. And look who shows up, for crying out loud. I'd forgotten that swing set. And of course, as I'm editing this, they had their grandchild Connor, who was still not home from the hospital. Nicole and Matt must be beside themselves. The little baby was 27 weeks. It was born, and it was 1 pound 10 ounces. And it's been really struggling, but the little guy's coming through. It seems to sounds better and better every day. So a lot of prayers go with us. And oh geez, there's an L65 Ford in the front of everything looks so different now. And he got his big old Cadillac and two Landau. Look at this, Mr. Cool, Mr. Suave, and his wife. That was all of us were many pounds lighter than I noticed. Well, that's what good life does for you. Now these were the good old days. This is when we went up to Stiefvaters for many years in a row with all of our friends and their families, and we just had it was a great time, mostly for just 1 week, sometimes for 2 weeks. Most people didn't stay for 2 weeks, but boy, we had a heck of a time while we were up there. Fun every minute of the night and day, except we're sleeping. It was a great time. Stiefvater's Cottages. Stiefvaters was just a great place for families, for kids. We had everything you wanted to do as adults, you know, during the nighttime. You go down and have, we used to, I never videoed it, but we used to go down right by the water with a little lean-to there. We'd have a big fire and we'd sing. We'd sing all night long. When the kids got older enough, someone would come down, but otherwise somebody was up watching them, babysitting or something, and keeping an eye on them. But that was a great time. Graham used to get out there with my mom used to get out there with a big stick and lead them and be a director over all the singing, because everybody knew the songs then. Everybody sang the old songs that we inherited from our grandparents and our parents, and somehow that's another thing that's been lost. Now, singing and dancing are, I don't know what happened to it. It was a beautiful part of the American culture that just seems to have, I'm sorry to say, declined a bit. Those old songs really meant something. I think a lot of them came out of the Depression myself, and people sang to make themselves happy and so on. But boy, a lot of them were carried down. Even the music of the 50s, you know, Down on a Corner and stuff like that. We all sang them with pleasure and pride, you know. Who are these kids here? I can't tell for sure. Here's Graham sitting there with Steve, and I'm not sure who that is climbing up in there, but everybody was together and everybody had a good time. Stiefvaters was a great, great memory. Since this was late 1960s, I found some 60s, 70s music to try to blend in here and see if it was kind of fit the venue. Actually, Mickey in the Navy was a coxswain, so he had to operate the ship-to-shore boat for the admirals and for the officers and dock that thing perfectly. And so he really learned how to do that. And I don't think he ever had a boat of his own. He was pretty much an expert at it. There's Scott climbing up a little bit because he knew he was on camera there. I was probably talking to him, telling him to do something or other. He always did what I told him when he was a kid. Anyway, there's Mickey Mulcahy. Yeah, he never changed yet. He's in his 50s. He ain't changed yet. He's still bouncing up and down. Good grief. Look at him go. Wonder if I could brighten that up any. I guess not. And there's Scotty on his little raft. We all had those cheap rafts. They lasted long enough. They lasted a summer or two, and then they'd fall apart or rot apart in the winter, but it was cool. I always remember that one particular summer when Kathy Finney took care of little Stevie, just like a mother babysitter. She took care of him, watched him, held his hand. And there's Patty Finney, and there's Ray. From G, can't remember his last name. Barry Ardner. Who we got here? Steve and I, Steve and me. How fast time flies by. I mean, today I had a New Year's call from Gaston and Odette in France, in Metz, France. And tonight from my immigrant friend, Steve Sanders, who immigrated under my sponsorship with his family from France to Florida. Seems to be living a happier life than I am down there. And here comes Mama, close at his heels, watching what he's doing every minute, climbing the wrong way up the slide like every little kid likes to do. But Mommy was right there on cue, watching him every second. I had a lot of music in here. Don't Worry and Over the Rainbow and all kinds of stuff so that people wouldn't just have to listen to my voice all the time. But I had to, it got blocked with copyright stuff when I put it on Facebook, so or on YouTube. So this version is the Murfitt 2 music deleted. I have another one with the music in it I could burn to a disc and eventually and it'll be okay. But right now I had to delete all of that stuff, all that music I had, and so you just can see the videos here. Fourth Lake, and Jim and Mickey and they used to play. Uh, they used to play horseshoes all the time. I didn't really care for it. But here's Steve and Kelly. And that was our cottage down by the water. That was our biggest one. I remember it was $125 a week, which was exorbitant. Now they tell me it's $1,200 and $1,200 a week. But at times inflation, you know. But we had a great time up here. Went several times up here to Fourth Lake all together. There's Scott and Kelly jumping in the water, holding hands. Obviously very young, you know. Kelly very brave with no vest on. sun and family fun. That's what it was all about. The great memories, wonderful times. It seemed like when you had vacations back then, boy, it was a real respite because, you're working and you're taking care of the house and doing whatever you do as mother and father, and you're going along, but everything's busy. But boy, when we relaxed and we had a good time, we relaxed and we had a great time, and our kids were always the center of it. We had great times year round, but it seemed like summertime was always the best. See if I can find a song about summertime. Well, I did find it, but I had to delete it, so copyrighted. Hey, there's Jim Robertson. Hi, Jim. This was always a treasure. The first day of school, I think, for Tommy Corden and Scott. There's Andy saluting with his left hand, and let's see, Paul and Esther, their son Paul, and Chucky Corden, and who grew up to be a jet pilot, and here they are getting on there. I think it's Scott. Yes, it's his first day. It's his first day of school, and they knew they were being filmed, but I don't think any of them ever saw this. Tommy Corden, ha, that's cute. Now Jackie Lamont lives there in the Corden house, and we're friends with her. And there they go, right up to Park Hill School. And here comes Scott running down his very first class. And here we are with the autumn leaves. with little Stevie and Scott and Sandy out in the backyard. Obviously, I was filming this from the second floor. There goes Scott running out. Yeah. Way before our first pool, obviously. The helping hand.